Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. The Professional Service Group of Mercer County is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in a career transition. In addition to good morning, happy Aloha Friday. For those of you that are meeting me for the first time, when you meet me on a Friday, I do wear Aloha shirts, Hawaiian shirts. It's just my thing to do. So a casual Friday in Hawaii is Aloha Friday. I learned about that a bunch of years ago, and I liked it. It took until now before we could be super casual. In addition, today we're celebrating a couple birthdays. Happy birthday to Edwin Buzz Aldrin. And if you don't know who Buzz Aldrin is, he is the second man to step on the moon. We know Neil Armstrong was the first man. And Buzz Aldrin famously said, "Neil, is it safe?" So Buzz Aldrin is the second man. He flew on Apollo 11 with Neil Armstrong. He is 92 years old today. Not many of the original Apollo astronauts are still with us, but glad that he is. And also, if you are music fans, Amir Thompson is 51. You may know him by his stage name, Questlove. He is the leader of Roots, which is the band at The Tonight Show. And today, he is 51 years old. So a couple birthdays today. I didn't find any cool national days that I wanted to celebrate, so I'll celebrate some birthdays. PSG of Mercer County is here to make you and your job search more efficient and effective. We do offer a lot of resources for anybody that is in career transition. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to be a member or attendee of the group. Most of the information is available online as well. For instance, we do have our LinkedIn group. And so if you're new to visiting us, either virtually or here in person, please join our LinkedIn group. Go search for it in LinkedIn. It is called PSG of Mercer County. We have over 1,700 members right now in our LinkedIn group, and they are all people that have been to at least one of our meetings, either in person or virtually. And so we kind of do that on purpose. It isn't open, it's not a hidden group. But when people request to join, we put you in pending status until we can figure out if you've been to at least one of our meetings, either through your attendance in person or your attendance virtually. And the reason why we do that is we're trying to keep the list collectors, the name collectors, the group collectors. There are people that act like that, looking to get names for only their own benefit. And we find that people that have been in our program before are more willing to share among you and other people in job search. So that's what we're trying to do, is keep the ne'er-do-wells out of the group. So go look for that, join, and we check about once or twice a week for people that have recently signed up. We do also have our website. Our website is called psgofmercercounty.org. And really just about everything that we do is PSG of Mercer County. We do a Twitter feed, some other social media as well. So please check out our website, psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just a landing page. It is over 120 web pages of content. There's a tremendous amount of information there for all job seekers. Among the information that we do have is we do have a YouTube channel. YouTube channel has a link right on our website. It's on the right side. You'll see the YouTube logo. And there are now about 123 topical videos on our YouTube channel. They are all programs that we were able to record while we've been in a little bit of a virtual lockdown. So we recorded the virtual presentations. We do also have a lot of resources on our website. We have a menu item called Resources. You may want to take a look at that as well. There are 48 links there, different types of resources. Some of them are career resources. Some of them are networking groups, if you want to find other groups like this. Career resources could be organizations or coaches. And there's even a wellness website and a mental health website as well. It's not the be-all or end-all in any of these sorts of fields, but for anyone who's getting started, it may be a great way to find some good resources. So go check out our website. Did mention just a moment ago, so for our ground rules, if you have a question, you can politely just unmute and interrupt Marty, excuse yourself. I'm sure he will take the question. Or if you'd like otherwise, we will be monitoring the chat. And if you want to leave your question in chat, we will read it out loud on your behalf. And so with that, PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome back Marty Latman. Marty is called by many people the best networker they know. He is a people helper, a matchmaker. As a managing partner of Latman Advisory Services, LLC, he provides business consulting services to help organizations achieve their business goals and improve their profitability. Marty also provides mentoring and career coaching services to professionals. He teaches, trains, advises, and supports professionals in many industries and at all levels in the techniques they need to elevate their career to the higher level. Over 1,250 professionals have said that through his help, they landed a position they desired. Marty takes a collaborative approach as he works closely with his clients to meet their unique needs and goals. Marty is a CPA and has spoken at many local and international professional organizations and conferences. He's also the co-chairman of the Financial Executive Networking Group, FANG, and their resident coaching expert. PSG of Mercer County is always pleased to welcome the best networker I know, Marty Latman. Yay!
Thank you,
David.
I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful day today. So just gather it all in, sit down, relax, buckle your seatbelts, and we'll have a nice little discussion. And if, as David says, if you have any questions, just shout it out. Let's see what we have over here. Hopefully we're not going to have any technical difficulties. The other question that I had, which I mentioned earlier, just to take a poll, how many Eagle fans do we have among us? Okay, let's show a hand. And how many Giant fans we have among us?
Okay.
Okay, and
we have people here dressed in Giants gear.
In gear? Okay, how about Cowboys? We have any Cowboys there? I guess not. One? Oh, okay. But then we could all root for the 49ers then. Okay, everybody. Let's get started and see what we have, okay? What I'm going to talk about today is getting your interviews through successful networking, okay? And in doing that, these are some of the things that, we'll discuss today. Your job search strategies, researching the job market, which is constantly changing in today's environment, searching for target companies, the types of jobs that are hiring today. And if you heard the news this morning, there's been another group of technology people who unfortunately will be looking for jobs at the moment. The tools you need to find the jobs today, what I could consider as the big four approach to finding a position. Talk about creating metrics and goals for yourself, and then evaluating your job search, and then we'll just wrap it up. So during this period, if you have some questions, just shout it out as David says, or if you want to put it in the chat, David will monitor the chat and we'll take it from there. Okay? Let's go. Let's talk about strategies today. Okay? Some of the strategies that you should be using in your job search. The first and most important strategy is to stay positive. ABP, as I call it. Being in transition is a difficult situation emotionally. You have stresses all the time. You'll have ups and downs, especially when you think you've done real well. And then number one, the company say, well, you're number two. Or they might not tell you anything at all. And then you're waiting around saying, what's happening? And it starts getting depressing. So forget all that. Just know that everybody lands, and it's just a matter of time. But if you're not positive, if you're negative, okay, I will tell you, you will not get hired. People do not hire negative or depressed people. It will show up in your interviews and you carry yourself as you talk with people. Get over it. Be positive because you will land, and hopefully soon. What you want to do, number one, is determine what you want to do. Okay. And, a number of us, we've been in the market, into our jobs for many years, and we've developed skill sets, and we go through this. And then as we get older, we say, this is something I really don't want to do anymore. So then the question is, what do you want to do? And those people who are basically starting out or have another opportunity, they look at it, well, what do I really want to do? And some of us, no matter what your age, may not know what you want to do. And that's key to understanding what you want to do for your strategy. You want to, today, research the current jobs that are available and also the jobs of the future. In going through this and researching these items, you could do it a number of ways. There's situation if you start looking at on some of the job boards, you'll see what jobs are available, and there's many different types of job boards. You could go into LinkedIn, and in LinkedIn see the jobs that they're posting. If you go into different networking groups and listen to what the people are looking for as they start talking about themselves and what the roles they're looking for, that will also give you some further guidance. You have Google searches. You have a number of ways. We could talk about that. One thing that really you should be doing in one of your strategies, and it's not always easy, but you want to select target companies. If you cannot select a target company, at least select an industry and an approximate size of an organization. Okay. Generally, information about large organizations, well-known organizations, people look at, you could gather a lot of information about, those companies, and generally people target large companies. But if you look at it, about 80% of today's economy is small, medium-sized organizations. Some that you might not have even heard of. If you drive around in your location, you'll see some companies, and you might not even know what they do. So it's a matter of really trying to find out information about organizations or industries, and then putting them on your target list. One way that you will get some help is to speak to the research librarians, and generally in the county libraries. They are very helpful. They can tell you which databases to access that will help you find target companies or the industries. They could help you find, the future job roles that we talk about at times, or today's job roles. So I suggest you utilize these librarians. They're most helpful, and it's great to get to know them. And the other thing you want to do in your strategy is identify what I call the POIs. These are the people of influence. These are the people, the movers and shakers. They're the ones who could open doors for you. They are the ones who could refer you to other people who will talk with you. These are the people that could help people who are looking for people make the decision to hire you, etc. So you want to look for the people of influence, the POIs. You could do that within your network. You have a number of POIs. At the same time, by networking, you could find some other POIs. And they're very influential and help you in your job search. You want in your strategy to develop, I'll call my toolbox of documents, the things that we're generally accustomed to. These are the documents that you will need during your job search. Some of the minimum ones you're talking about would be, the resume, and then, the LinkedIn profile. That's some of them, but there are other things to add to that. And then, one of the other strategies is what I consider the big four, the approach. And we'll get into that in a little more detail. Um, the thing about job search is that there's no one way, okay? You really have to be, prepared, what I call, ABP, to be positive and prepared, because opportunities come at any time. And in getting there, you really have to evaluate where in the search you are and where is the company that's hiring, where are they in their search? And in doing that, you have to use different types of methods to land that position. There's not one. It's not a cookie cutter approach. So you really have to be flexible and pretty creative at times. So think about that. The other part of your strategy is to help others. When you help others, not only does it feel good to the people who you help, and generally it feels good to you when you help them, but they will help you in return. Okay. And by being a helper, other people then could gravitate to you, and that will help you increase your network and increase the opportunities that come in front of you. So help others as you go through this. It's a really good strategy. Now, as I say, one of the basic things you have to do is determine what you want to do if you have not determined that already. And some of the things to do that is like this. Look at your work history. Look at your resume and look where you have worked before. And try to reflect on the different organizations and where you work. What are some of the things that you did? Okay. And in doing that, think about, what did you do that you like to do? And what are the things that you didn't like to do? And then look back and say, well, I like to do that earlier on in my career, but now I really don't want to do it. So things have changed. You have to really be honest with yourself and look at your history to see things that you want to do or that you like to do, you didn't like to do. Also, look at your personal life. Sometimes your hobbies that you might have can turn into career moves for you. So take a look at that, things you might want to do. Maybe if you like to travel and you've been traveling a bit, maybe you want to look in the travel industry. So think about these things as you go through it. What I would say, make a list of the things you like to do. And at the same time, make a list of the things you do not like to do. And when you have your list, prioritize them. And on each side of the ledger, the things you like to do and things you don't like to do, look at the top 5 items. And that should give you further guidance as to what you feel you might want to do. It will be helpful to identify where along the trail you want to point yourself, where on the yellow brick road you want to go. Okay. Prioritize the likes and dislikes. And look at yourself. What are you passionate about? What really gets you going? You don't want to be in a situation where I call it the Sunday blues. When it comes Sunday evening and say, oh boy, I have another week of this. Tomorrow it's back to the grind. You want to have something that you're really happy at, something that you're eager to begin the week and that you really want to do. So consider that in your strategy and what you want to do. Obviously, you want to take a look at your skills. Will your current skills enable you to do to fill a role that you really want to? And at the same time, you got to look and say, all right, for this role, which I really want to do, I have these skills, but there are other skills that I am currently lacking or I have to develop further. And you want to identify them so that you could get them as you do your search. Alongside of the time that you're searching, you gain new skills. In researching the job market, you want to look at the current jobs today, but at the same time, think about it and think about what the future has to offer to you. Because you could get in now on the foundation, lower level, so to speak, of a future job that could really blossom into some new industry. So you want to look into that. Research the current job roles today. And I mentioned you could do that a number of ways. You could do it through talking to different people. You could do it by looking on the job boards, talking to the librarians, talking to other people. Okay. For the future jobs, once again, it's a matter of, doing your research. There are blogs out there. There's TED Talks. You can do some further Google searches. Here in New Jersey, wind farming is really, really taking hold. And, a couple of years ago, I was like, what? What do I need? What's this thing about wind farm? Well, it's here today. So think about that. Okay. You want to read articles that are available today of the jobs that they have today and the ones that they look forward to in the future. I was on a call before this meeting where we were talking about some of the articles in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday. And one of the things they indicated was that there is a shortage of accountants today. And the accounting industry is really scrambling to bring in new individuals, young people, into the accounting industry. That's one of them. So think about this. Speak to people. Ask them, what do you do? Is this something that you like to do in your role? Or, what do you think is coming down the pike? You want to read blogs? That'll give you some further information. And also you could follow today's leaders and see what they have to say. And following them and what they have to talk about in different conferences or in different articles, it'll give you a leg up, so to speak, on what people are looking for today, and especially what they're looking for the future. There's TED Talks, which are very interesting to listen to. What I suggest you do is, just think about different things. Let your mind wander. Don't be fixed and say, this is the only thing that's available. Open up your mind and think about the things that, you would want to do. And what skills do you need for the future? And in doing that, you really have to, keep in mind that there are other factors that may restrict what type of role you might want to look for the future. I mean, if there are skills that you feel you need, and let's say it's going to take you two years or so to get those skills, and you are a certain age, whatever that age is, and say, okay, I'm going to have to add 2 years to that to just gain my skills. Will companies still hire me? There's this thing called age discrimination out there, as we all know, with other types of discriminations. But these are the factors we have to consider as we are looking for the positions that we want. In selecting target companies, just remember, the more target companies you select, the shorter will be your search. Now that seems like an oxymoron. The more that I have, the shorter it will be. Well, it helps you by having target companies to find out more about those companies and then eliminate those that you feel are really not what you want. And that will then help you focus on your job search. Okay. Um, with your target companies, it'll help you look really clearly as to this is the type of organization I want to be at. Let me find out more about that instead of going to here, there, and just meandering on through your job search. At the same time, with target companies, other people can help you if they know your target companies. They could refer you to people they know who either work in that target company, know somebody who work in that company, or works and knows people in competitors of your target companies. So what it does, not only helps you focus, but it helps others focus to help you and to lead you to other people who could give you further information about the targets that you're looking for. The research librarians, they could help you find your target companies. There's some databases out there to look at that will help you find out a lot of information about companies and contacts, etc. Okay. That will help you then do further research on your target companies. One database that's out there is dataaxle.com. Now, dataaxle used to be called Reference USA, and then Reference USA was purchased by this company, dataaxle, which I believe they're based in Tennessee. And they started branding and changing Research USA. For a period of time, it was called Research or Reference Solutions, and now it's called dataaxle. And really what it is, it's three databases in one. The main database lists almost all the companies in the United States, and it'll tell you where their main office is, what their revenue is, the number of people who work there, the key executives, and the one factor that they have that helps you find these companies are what we call the Standard Industrial Code, the SIC code. And all companies, when they file their tax returns, have to identify or post what they call an SIC code, which tells you what type of industry they are in and what they do. And by using the SIC code, you could say, if you go into this database, I want organizations that are in the cosmetic industry, which have sales between $1 billion and $2 billion, which has personnel between 1,000 and 2,000, and within 30 miles of my zip code. And I'll give you a list. And in the list, you'll have the name of the company, where they're located, their sales, the number of people, the executives. And then the other database they have, one of the other attached databases, is executives at the organizations. And you can go into that database and get the information about the different executives who you then could try to get in touch with, or use that for further research. And the other database that they have is the companies in their database that currently have jobs today. And so you could pull out the company name that you want and go to the other part of the database and see if they're hiring people today for these different jobs. So it's a very powerful database. Here in New Jersey, it's free. You could find it in a library, or you could actually, use it through your own computer at home. You also have the Dun & Bradstreet database, which is more towards, I'll call it, public companies. D&B purchased Hoover's, and the Hoover database, which was really for public companies, is now part of Dun & Bradstreet. So you can find out information about public companies there. Data Axle not only has the large companies, but as I say, it has almost all the companies in the United States. And those are even the small companies that you could look at. Okay. You could do Google searches for different organizations, different people, etc. But you have to do your research on your target companies, which will then help you start connecting with different people. All right. Now, as I said earlier, the job market today is ever changing. From one day to the next, there are more people being laid off, but at the same time, companies are also hiring. I did a Google search the other day of information that was on LinkedIn, and this is what it came about. These are the jobs that are currently in the process of hiring people, and it's a pretty strong market for actuaries, industrial engineers, data scientists, information system managers, information system security analysts, financial managers, registered nurses, physician assistants, sales engineers, technical writers, software developers, marketing managers, human resources personnel, database administrators, public relations individuals, teachers, dental hygienists, operations researchers, computer support personnel, business coaches, web developers, writers and podcasters, mobile app developers, and medical assistants. And these jobs, these were in the top 40 jobs that were listed. Okay. It might give you some guidance as to things to look for. You will see, going through here, there's a lot of technology. We have a lot of security here. There's finance. There's, I'll call it healthcare, so to speak. Okay. Education that we have. More IT. Okay. So really, main industries, when you really look at it, okay, you have finance, you have IT, education, medical, healthcare. Okay. So these are where, in today's environment, there's a lot of activity. So it's things to think about. To find these positions, there's obviously some tools that you need. And this is basic stuff now that we're going to talk about. What I always say, you need the right attitude. It's always to be positive, everybody. You will all land. Guarantee it, as long as you continue to pursue it. It might take you more time than expected, but if you keep at it, you will land. Okay, people are still hiring, even though people are laying off. It's like a revolving door. People come out, but people go back in. So keep that in mind. What you want to do is create what I call my toolbox of documents. These are things that you have all the time, and you're ready, so you could act accordingly. The first thing that I suggest you have is a well-crafted elevator pitch. And these pitches, and I think you need at least 6 of them, as I talk about, this really defines who you are, okay? The 6 pitches that I talk about really can be broken down into 2 sets of 3. In each set, you have a 15-second pitch, a 30-second pitch, and then what I consider a 60 to 90-second pitch. Would not go more than 90 seconds on how to talk about yourself. And that's in each set. Now, what are the 2 sets? One set is for the general audience. These are the people in general that are not in your industry. They do not speak the language that's accustomed in the specific industry. And as a result of it, you have to craft an elevator pitch that they will understand in general terms. And the other set is for people within your industry. And in those pitches, you could use the jargon that you use when you're actually working, the terms that you talk about, okay, the acronyms that you use when you're working. So these are the people who will understand technically, because of your industry, what you're talking about. In doing this, your pitches should contain what I consider the 4 C's and the 3 W's. And the 4 C's, that your pitch really should be clear. And, tell people what you do, okay? It should be concise. As I say, no more than 90 seconds. It should be compelling, meaning it's interesting, and people want to hear more on what you have to say. And it has to be consistent. Now, when I talk about consistency here, I'm not talking about being word for word. What I'm talking about is that you have to really be consistent in your theme and what you want to bring across to people. Because if you memorize your pitch, then when you deliver it, it doesn't have as much impact as by just talking about yourself in just concepts that you have in your mind and what you really do. So you want to have consistent concepts of this is what I do and this is how I do it, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the 4 C's. The 3 W's, basically who you are and what you do. And when I talk about what you do, that is not a title. That is more of the role that you do. Titles have different connotations in different companies. So I would not, necessarily talk about titles. I would talk about your roles on what you've done, what you do. And the most part of your pitch is the value that you have added to different organizations where you worked at. The value that you talk about puts in the listener's mind that, hey, this person creates value. If that person works for me, I anticipate that they'll also be able to add value to my operation. And that's the mindset that you want to have the listener have. And by doing that, you want to talk about the value that you have created elsewhere for companies, because if you've done it elsewhere, there's an assumption that you'll do it in your next employer. So keep that in mind. So you want to have a well-crafted elevator pitch. I suggest you still have personal business cards that you could give out. I mean, we do a lot today, technically, your V cards, etc. But by giving out a personal card, it's a tangible item to talk, to hold, to look at, etc., that somebody would have. And when you attend your networking events, have a personal name badge. Okay, might be your name, and underneath that, a short thing of what you do, operations, HR, etc. But it's a personal one. It looks professional, and even though they give out these sticky badges, wear your badge. It'll make you unique and bring it with you all the time. You want to create what I consider a personal brand on who you are, how people will know about you. So that if people think of one thing, they'll think about you first, so that your name will come up in their minds quickly. Take a look. We have in the audience there, John Sampson. Well, John is well known for working with networking groups to have speakers. And if you want somebody to gather speakers for you, it's John Sampson. Okay. Those are some of the things you could do. I mean, myself, I've been branded in different ways that I'm a people helper and a matchmaker. That's what I do. That's how I help people. I'm a very good networker. I'm a connector. You want to create a marketing plan. And your marketing plan is really, in my mind, a one-page document that really bridges the gap from the past thing you have done, meaning your resume, to the things you want to do, and you have on it your target companies. It's a one-pager. The top part of the page would have your summary that's on your resume. It then might have a section for your major accomplishments, 3 to 5 bullets, or your core competencies. Then it might have a section on what you're looking for, what type of role, and then have a list of your different target companies. Even if you have 25 or 50 target companies listed, and I would list them alphabetically within industry, it does not take long for someone, if you give it to that person, to scan it as for target companies. Do they know anybody in these companies? Or do they know, people in the competitors of these companies? Scanning a list of 25, 50 target companies does not take long to do. And it's a very good leave behind, and it's very good when you go out networking with people. I would lead with your marketing plan ahead of your resume. And then we have your resume. And as always, your resume should be tailored to the specific job specs when you're applying for a position. But you could have I'll call it a template type resume that you use with your companies and what, your core companies, competencies, etc. And then based on the specific situation that you're applying for, you just change some of those items, some of the bullets that you have. You have to have a good LinkedIn profile with a professional picture. And one of the things that I truly recommend you should have on your LinkedIn profile is the recommendations. The more recommendations that you have, okay, it really substantiates you as a person who people want on their team. So try to get recommendations. And then you're going to have keep them to, yourself on side, but be prepared to give them out when you have to. That's your references. And in your references, make sure that you keep your references up to date on your job search. and what's going on. And before you give someone who asks for your references, before you give them out, you know, make sure you contact your references and say, so-and-so is going to be calling you, and this is what they're looking for. I'd like you, to really, discuss this that we used to do before, which would substantiate what they're looking for in me. And then you have your, I'll call it standard cover letters and thank you letter templates that you could use at any time. So these are the documents that I would have in my toolbox. The approach to landing, the strategies that you use, I call it the big four. This hasn't changed. This is how people find jobs today. It's these items. It's networking, networking, networking. There's also recruiters, social media, which is the internet, LinkedIn, the job boards, the classified ads that they still have, and direct mail. Okay, now, these are the main four ways on finding a job. Based upon your personality, you might put more emphasis on one than the other. Okay, I'm a networker. I know my strength is networking with people, and therefore, for me, it's networking, networking, networking. Sometimes when you're just beginning your career, well, it might be recruiters. Okay. Also today, LinkedIn has a big factor in your approach. Today, a lot of people are looking at LinkedIn to hire you. So, take a look at these four items. You should use all four of them, in my opinion. But which one you use more is up to you. For me, and I think for most people, it's networking, networking, networking. I came across a stat the other day which said basically that 85% of job leads come through networking. Now, I didn't indicate how they got the 85%, what was behind it, but they were talking 85% of job leads come through networking. So if networking gives you that amount, this is the pond I suggest you might want to be fishing in. The other ways to land a position, well, there's consulting. You can do that. In doing consulting, people might hire you a temporary work, and then when you're there, you get to see what the company's all about, and they get to see what your work is. So this is temporary work, which you probably could get through recruiters or through consulting firms. Or what you can do, you could buy a business, or you could buy a franchise. Okay, those are the other two ways to find work. So consider that also as you go through this. In networking, which I consider my number one way to find a job, that's my number one strategy. It's all about building relationships, getting to know people. You want to get to know people. As you go through this, especially in networking, it's never about you. It's always about the other person, not about you. It's a matter of getting people to get to know you. Because if they get to know you, if they hear about opportunities, they could recommend people contact you. Okay. If they hear of opportunities, they could send them to you. Okay. They have their antennas up if they get to know you and what you can do. So that's really the key in networking. It's getting to know people who get to know you. Okay. It's not just getting to know people. Okay. This is a relationship. It's a two-way street. And so what you want to do, you want to get to know what these people are all about. But at the same time, you want to make sure that they get to know who you are and what you're all about so they can help you. Okay. That's what the important thing is, to have these people help you in your job search by being aware of what you're looking for and having their antennas up, having them speak to people in their networks about you, spreading the word about you. What you do when you network, what you're looking for is what I call air. Okay, and in air, what you strive for is advice, information, and referrals. Okay. Now, in part of that, you could also include leads. Okay, but that would be more of the information that I would talk about. So you get information about companies, you get advice about people who are looking for people like you. You could get advice on how to do further searches, how to approach people, etc. But you want to get air when you network.
Hey, Marty.
Yes.
Hi, this is Judith. I just wanted to mention to the group, I recently read an excellent book. It's a small read, The 20-Minute Networking Meeting. Excellent for how to conduct clear, concise, get to the point, 15 minutes in and out.
Who's
And
the author?
Nathan A. Perez. I'll put it in the chat, but I
That'd be
got it on
helpful.
Amazon. Yeah, I got it on Amazon and I really enjoyed it.
It's a good book.
I'll
Real
put-
quick read.
Yes, so you don't have to spend too much time.
That's great. That's a good source. So everybody, this is how we talk to each other. Thank you, Judith. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. The question is, when should you be networking? Well, you could do a couple things. Everybody networks when they're in transition. Okay, which is right. Okay, you have to do that. But also, what you have to do, in my opinion, when you're working, you have to network also. Because what happens, and this generally happens all the time, people are in transition, they do all their networking, and then they land. And once they land, this part doesn't happen. They are so consumed in their work that they forget about networking. And I had an individual the other night at one of my meetings who used to attend my meetings about 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, she signed up for my meeting, and I knew right away. And the meeting started, and I asked her, I said, I see you, it's great to see you, etc. Are you in transition again? And sheepishly, she smiled and she said, yep, I'm back in. All right. And I didn't work on my network when I was working. So, look, work on your network when you're working. In this way, most of the time, you're not going to be in transition at all. Or if you are, it'll only be for a short time because you still have your network. Okay. You network when you need air, when you want to get advice, information, and referrals. That's when we network generally. When we need your support. Networking really helps people. I received a call last night from an individual who I met at a networking meeting about 2 weeks ago. Got the call and said, I need your help. I need your advice. And what she was trying to do was make some type of connection to different people. And she didn't know which type of people to really connect with. And she said, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what I want to do over here. And I'm unclear. And after we had our conversation, I gave her like 5 different ways that she could connect to the people that could really help her. So, help other people, support them. And that's when we network. It's really all the above. These are the things, networking, as I call ABC. Always be connected and connecting. Reach out to new people every day, but stay connected to the people who you currently have in your network. Speak with them. Find out what's going on. Okay, keep them updated of what's happening with you. This is how we build relationships, everybody. It's ABC. Always. This is what we should be doing. Who should you network with? Well, this is a group to think about. It's your family. It's your friends and friends of your family. Current and past business colleagues. Business customers and vendors. College classmates, alumni. High school classmates and alumni. I've even had some grammar school, elementary school classmates who I talk with. Your neighbors, people who you met during in transition. Okay, you have a common bond with these people, so talk with them. People you interact with on a regular basis. These are people like the mailman, okay, the dry cleaners, the people in the grocery store, people at your religious organizations, okay, people who you see every day, okay. Network with them. Tell them what's going on with you and seek their assistance, okay. Ask them if they could connect you with different people who you could speak with to learn more about what they do, etc. What I suggest you do, if you haven't already, make a list of all the people you know, and then set up a schedule. You want to try to contact X number of people every day. And for the week, you want to contact 20 people and just have short conversations. You also, on your list, okay, number one, take a look at the people who are currently on your list and try to determine who are the people of influence, POIs. They would be your first contacts. And if you don't have any POIs, start trying to network to find some POIs who will really make it easy for you to connect with other people who will help you find that position that you want. These are the people to think about to network with. It's everybody. What networking groups? Now, you could go to networking groups 7 days a week. They're out there. Networking groups, every group that you could think about, it's out there. And when you start looking at it, you could network Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The question is, you got to have time. So what you have to do is really prioritize which groups you're going to go to, because you have to do your job search. This is one place where I would suggest you look. mynetworkingcentral.com. If you go out to that site, you get a whole bunch of networking groups. There's a search engine we have with filtering, which will help you find different groups. It will also find you different speakers who speak at networking groups, and you might want to follow some of these speakers. You could do Google searches for networking groups that are specific to what your needs are. I want to go to a forensic accounting networking group. I want to go to a pharmaceutical sales networking group. I want to go to a marketing group. Just do a Google search and you'll find those real easy. You go to meetups where you can meet different people. And in the meetups, what you want to do, not only from a professional meetup group for industry, but also for some of your hobbies. The key in networking is to find things in common with people, and then you could really bond with them. And when you find something in common, it makes networking a lot easier. Okay, because you're there for the same reason generally, and you have the same likes. So look at meetup groups. I suggest, and I say, there's a certain amount of time you have in a day to do networking groups. I suggest as a minimum you have 4 networking groups. And these are the groups, at least one with members employed in your industry, and one with members in transition in your industry or your profession. At least one with members in transition in multiple industries at different levels, your level or higher. This is one over here, PSG of Mercer. You also have tomorrow, if you want, we have Careers in Transition is meeting tomorrow. To do that, Carol's in the audience here. Contact Carol. You could get a sign-up sheet that you have to do by 4 o'clock today for tomorrow's meeting. You might want to, join us at CIT tomorrow. And at least one with members employed in your or other industries at all levels. Okay, so what you've done is that in these 4, you have taken 2 groups where people are in transition, and one specifically for your industry and one in general. And these are, where you can find out different things that are happening with the people who are in transition. And the other 2 are people who are employed. These are the hiring people. So these are the people who could help you get into their companies, or they could hire you themselves. So think about it. These are the 4 groups as a minimum you should have. What other networking events you could go to? Well, in today's environment, you still have remote. We have this one, and also in person or hybrid, which this one is. But you got volunteer groups, family functions, seminars, webinars, charitable events, family sports events, Chamber of Commerce. Have you been visiting the Chamber of Commerce? You should do that in your location. In doing that, they know companies that are coming into the area. They know companies who are leaving the area, and they can be very helpful. You have your alumni groups. With your alumni groups, you have people in common because you went to the same school generally. Okay. There's industry associations, professional associations, and as I said earlier, everyday opportunities, the cleaners, the hair salons, the mailman, the grocery, your church, etc. These are places to network and to meet people and to have these people help you find your position. Number 2 strategy is recruiters. But what you want to do is choose them wisely. There are a lot of recruiters who are not really that good. Just think, what does it take to become a recruiter? You ever give that a thought? You can say, well, I'm a recruiter today. Here I am. It's that simple. But what you want to do, choose your recruiters based on your target companies and the disciplines you're looking for. These are the recruiters that handle, your organizations that you're looking for. And you could go to the Directory of Executive Recruiters. It's by Kennedy Publication. It's online now. And this will take different recruiting firms and indicate, what their specialties are. And based upon your specialties and industries, it could lead you to the right recruiters to choose. Talk to your colleagues and friends as to recruiters they would suggest who they use. But be careful on this in that you want to find recruiters that deal in your industry. And your friend might say, hey, I have a real good recruiter. Okay. Your friend might be in banking and you are in manufacturing. Well, that recruiter in banking recruits people for the banking industry. It might not have any manufacturing jobs at all. So that would not be a good recruiter to go to. So you really have to filter the recruiters and choose them wisely based upon their connections in the profession that you are looking for or the companies that you are looking for. And when you talk to recruiters, evaluate them. They're going to interview you, but at the same time, you interview them. Before you deal with them, make sure that, you have a good rapport with them. You could trust them, that they have a good success rate, that they deal in the industries you are looking for, and most important, that they care about you. And this is where you develop a relationship. Okay. Many times you get recruiters who say, yeah, give me your resume, I'll help you. And you never hear from them once they get your resume. So be careful of that. Choose them wisely.
Hey, Marty, I have another
Yes,
question. When
go ahead.
dealing, so I'm doing, of course, my own job search, applying to jobs. Haven't started dealing with recruiters yet, but when I do, shouldn't you tell them not to only send out your resume to companies that you know that you approve of? Like you wouldn't want a conflict of interest if I applied myself and then a recruiter went in with my resume.
Most definitely. And that's where you set up the rapport with the recruiter. You
Yeah.
have to set up some guidelines. You have to make sure that you tell them who you have already applied to. Okay. And tell them that, look, before my resume goes out, you have to tell me who you want to send it to. And it's only upon my approval that you could send it to that company. So you want to control the interaction that the recruiter has with their client as to your paperwork and your name. Okay? But it's a very good point
Yeah.
that you raised. All
Yeah.
I,
righty?
And does,
I-
does, does this group recommend any good recruiters? I know John Sampson does, but are there any that you know that are very reputable, maybe for IT or technical writing?
There are different, if anybody has recruiters, why don't you put it in the chat so we could help you.
Sure.
Um, I'll be more than happy to chat with you after. Uh, Generally, there's only one that I endorse, but I'm sure John already gave you her. But there are other ones that I know who could be very helpful. Okay?
Okay,
can I just
thank
jump
you.
in on that comment? I would just
Yeah.
be careful telling, I would be careful telling a recruiter what companies you've applied for, because that recruiter may send other candidates into that company because they know that's an active job search. So I would just be careful telling them who you've applied to.
So are you telling me that you wouldn't tell them that you applied for this company?
So I think if you tell them you've applied at Acme Corporation, they now know there's an active job. Not that they couldn't figure that out, but they may not have known. So
Right. Mhm.
I would not be
Yeah.
proactive. If they say, hey, I have a job at Acme, then you could say, well, I've already applied, but I wouldn't offer it up proactively.
Well, everyone has their choices to make. Okay. And as I said, you want to have a good rapport with your recruiter. But what'll happen, okay, let's say that you are working with multiple recruiters and one recruiter already sent your resume to ABC company and you do not tell the second recruiter that you've been to ABC company. If that recruiter then sends your resume to ABC company and ABC company now has your resume from two recruiters, you could forget about ever getting that position
Yeah.
because the
Mhm.
companies, they are not going to get in the middle of fighting on who is going to get the commission if they hire you. So that will knock you out of the box. I agree. What you want to do is be tactful with recruiters. You have to have a good relationship so you can speak freely with them. So I understand what your point is. Okay, I'm not going to disagree with it, but all I'm saying is to be tactful, because you could be in a situation, if you are not forthright with the recruiter, on where your resume is. Okay? Let's talk about social media, which is your third strategy. Really what it is, it's a numbers game, everybody. We talk about it. There's lots of places out there, lots of different jobs that you could apply for. There's a lot of people on social media, etc. When it comes to LinkedIn, these are some of the things that you should have on LinkedIn so people will notice you. It's 100% complete profile as best you can. Now, LinkedIn keeps on changing what they are requiring, and they change their format, and they don't tell anybody. So what you should be doing is going back and looking at your profile on a pretty regular basis. But one thing that you should have, make sure you have, is a professional picture, okay, on your LinkedIn profile. All right. Number of people who try to connect with me, they don't have a picture. And I could tell you, if someone doesn't have a picture, I generally do not connect with them. I don't know who they are. All right. This is networking. I want to see who they are so I know who I'm dealing with. Especially today with LinkedIn, that's gotten so big. There's a lot of people who connect with you who are just, trying to get into your network and see what's going on. And they're really, especially people who are from overseas, they're trying to connect with you. Be very careful, but have a professional picture. So if a potential target company looks at you, they'll see how professional you are. What you want to do, in my opinion, on LinkedIn, anybody that you bring in to your LinkedIn network, get to talk to them. Get to know who they are. Everyone who joins my network, I chat with. Generally, it's email. I could also, schedule some Zoom meetings with them. But I talk to everybody in my network. I have a huge network, and I try to keep my network informed of what I'm doing, and I want to find out what they're doing at least once a year. And this is developing relationships. Many people, you could say, hey, I see you connected with with John Smith. Okay, could you connect me with John Smith? And you say, oh, I don't know John Smith at all, but he's in my network. So get to know who's in your network and check into that. And thank people for joining you on LinkedIn. Be curious and find out how you could help them. Because once again, by helping other people, they get to help you. All right. You also have Twitter. Okay. Now, with Musk taking over, there's a whole question about Twitter. But I think it's still going to survive. It's still important communicator today. And you can get in there, you can follow different people. And then you have Facebook. We have, a business profile in Facebook. Okay, keep that separate than your personal stuff. All right. Be careful in social media. You have to do it in today's environment, but be careful what you post, okay, and who joins you. On direct mail, that's my fourth strategy. And here, once again, I'd use dataaxle.com. Okay, as I say, it used to be called Reference Solutions. Sometimes they still use Reference Solutions, but the latest one is DataAxle. You can look them up on the web. It'll tell you more about them, about their platform. And you could go into any library here in New Jersey and it's free, and they'll show you how to use it. Talk to the reference librarian. You got Hoover's database, which is now the D&B database. Okay, it's D&B purchased Hoover's, and it's now all in one. Okay, you have your Google searches, where you could search for different people, different companies, find out about those companies, and then you want to create a letter that you're going to send to the executive of that organization. And you could also do that through LinkedIn and getting their contact information. You want to speak to the research librarians to get some further information and contacts. And then what you want to do, send letters to company heads, which will indicate the following: who you are and what you do. That's like an opening paragraph. Indicate that you've done some research about the company. You might want to mention that in a paragraph. And this is the reason why you're contacting the organization. And then ask 3 or 4 questions in your letter, and gear it so that one of the questions will be answered with a no. And then what you want to do is indicate if any of the answers to these questions are no, maybe we should have a meeting, and ask for that meeting. Okay, let them know that they could contact you at so and so, or if you don't hear from them in 2 weeks, you'll be contacting them, see if there's any interest. And you might want to say, how good is this direct mail? Well, I did this years ago. I was looking, and my targets was 660 of them, companies. I was going to send out waves of 100 every 2 weeks because I figured I could contact companies in a 2-week period. I sent out my first 100. Within a week, I had 10 responses. The 10 responses ended up having 6 interviews, okay, which then related to 3 offers. All right. And in the meantime, through another reference that I had another offer, which I ended up accepting. And I never went to send out the other 560 target letters. So it could be very, very successful if it's focused, and if you have the right target companies, all right, and address it to the company head. And you can find out that information, who's the head of the company or the head of those departments that you're looking at, through the Google searches, LinkedIn, the research librarian. Here in New Jersey, if you subscribe to NJ Biz, it's a periodical that's published weekly. That has a lot of information on people and contacts and companies. So you might want to do that also. All right. So this is the 4th strategy that I use. But in sending out your letter, don't attach a resume. As soon as somebody receives a resume, it's going to go to HR. And in my opinion, you want to stay away from HR, at least initially. So my paragraph, it's a 4-paragraph letter that has this information, no resume. It's your opening paragraph on who you are, okay, which is in placement, so to speak, of your resume. Once you have all these, your strategy set up.
Oh, excuse me, Marty.
Yes.
So we have online 2 hands that are raised for questions.
Okay.
So one is Lisa. So Lisa, if you intend to ask a question, now would be a good time. Lisa, if you're there, unmute your microphone. Or maybe your question was answered already.
Sorry.
Oh, there.
It was from earlier when we were talking about recruiters. So never mind. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, no
I'm
worries.
glad I handled that question real well. Okay.
Yeah, well, Marty, it just goes to show that if you talk enough, you'll answer all the questions.
Got it. Okay, what's next?
There's another one from Judith. Her hand is up as well. So
Yeah,
Judith,
sure. I was just wondering about that direct mail letter. If
Right.
you see on LinkedIn, you know who the head of a department is, as opposed to sending it to the executive of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all right to send that? Like, I know, like there was a company I'm interested in. I messaged some people at the company to see if I could get a contact for who's the head of this group. And one person responded that, this company's very private about giving out that information. And if I'm interested in the job, just to let her know and she could help me push it through. But I don't want, like, I was worried about people feeling like I was stalking them or something.
Yeah, look, forget about people feeling you're stalking you. Generally, that's not the case, okay? But,
Mm,
who you send it to, you definitely want to send it, okay, to try to get it to a decision maker, okay? And you have to be able to say that you want to send it to somebody who's going to be above the position that you're looking for.
mm,
So, from my standpoint, when you send it to the head of the organization, that has a big impact, especially in a small, medium-sized organization. But if you're in a big organization and you know the department head and you want to work within that department, why not send it to that person? You could do that.
mm.
Okay.
Right.
The key,
That's
what you
what
want to do, yeah, that's fine.
I
The
was
key,
trying
what
to
you want
find
to
out
do,
who that person is
you
so that
could
I could
find
just,
that, go to, you could do on LinkedIn. You could do some
that's what I
advanced
did.
searches. You could do that by company.
Right.
You could go out to Data Axle. That could possibly give you some information. You could do some Google searches, or really, your network. Talk to people in your network. They might be able to help you further
Mm,
identify who the people are. And worst comes
right.
to worst, if you really want, you call the company switchboard. Okay, you want to
Okay.
get in contact with the person who runs this. Okay, that department, and generally the receptionist will give you the information. Okay,
Mm,
you got to put
okay.
on your detective hat. Alrighty, Judith.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
there's also one more question from Gary. So Gary, if you'd like to unmute, please go ask Marty your question.
Hi, Marty.
How
You
we doing?
mentioned pretty good, pretty good. Thank you. You mentioned earlier that the meeting that we're in today is a hybrid meeting, and that means that of all of the attendees, there are several people who are attending the meeting in person at the Princeton Public Library, as opposed to just being there virtually. I'm part of the executive committee that works with David. And we set this up because we are at a stage where we are trying to encourage the strongest form of networking, which we feel is giving people the opportunity to meet in person. And the reason I wanted to bring this up to you is uh, I wanted to know whether or not any of the other organizations that you're associated with are trying to make a step in this direction to provide people the opportunity to make that personal handshake rather than one just over a telephone or in virtual meetings.
Okay. It's a very good question, Gary. Um, I'll give you my opinion first. Okay. The best networking that you could have is what I call face to face, belly to belly. Okay. That's the best. And I strive to have the in person. Okay. That being said, okay, we are hopefully coming out of this pandemic, although you started hearing about it, especially here in New Jersey, that COVID is on the rise. Okay. And in as much we've had the last I'll say 2.5 years, where people have been virtual. Okay? There's developed what I call two camps. One who really want to, go in face to face, and those who are comfortable doing virtual. My meetings right now that I'm running, okay, there's 4 of them. I am currently virtual. Okay. The reason I have that is that I attempted several months ago to go live. The attendance was very poor live. Most people wanted to be virtual. Okay. At the same time, a number of groups, not only mine, but a number of other groups, have been that used to meet in person, now have found that the places where they used to meet in person are no longer available to them. I know for myself, I'm in the process of searching for some other locations where I could have live meetings because I want to have them. I think people will come back out to meet other people. But I think it's developing slowly. That's what I'm thinking about. But I agree. The best is to have in person. Okay?
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Hopefully I answered that question then.
You did.
Any other questions, David? Any other raised hands?
Another one from Peter in the chat. He was asking about the direct mail, if that's actual letters versus email. You wanted to get
For actual letters, hard copy. That's the best, the hard copy. With emails, okay, this delete button is very handy. You get rid of it. All right. So I believe on the letters, they're actual physical letters. You go to the post office and drop them in. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Marty.
We do have
All right.
one other question here in the room. So from Alex, and you know which Alex
Hi,
we're
Marty.
talking about.
Who is this?
Alex Freund.
Yeah.
Right into
I
it.
don't know the guy. I really don't know that guy.
Nice meeting you, by the way.
Same here.
Can you hear me now? Marty,
What
can you
can I
hear
do?
me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. First of all,
I can't hear you now.
I see a huge disconnect in the marketplace. Companies are looking for A and people have to offer B. What companies are looking today, and I have a list here and I want to quickly read. Companies are looking for cloud computing, big data analytics, encryption and cybersecurity, image and voice processing, e-commerce digital trade, virtual reality, and I can go on and on and on. And this is not what people in transition today offer. They offer something different. And because of that, there is a huge disconnect. And I know other presentations of yours, you're talking about discrimination and age discrimination. Yes, there is age discrimination, but sometimes there is technical knowledge discrimination. If I'm going to supermarket to buy a tomato, but you don't have tomatoes, you have a cucumber, guess what? I don't have what you want. So people that are more advanced in age, they need to adapt and learn these skills that companies today need, because otherwise they go to the younger generation. And this is where this age discrimination is manifested. If you can address that, I would appreciate it.
Well, look, Alex, I mean, people, as I said earlier, you need the skills for the positions that are available today and for the future. Okay. And you have to stay up, especially in technology. Okay, you have to stay current, and that's up to each individual to do what they have to do to stay current. All right. What's happening is that a number of different professions, and it's been for years, have their requirements of continuing education credits. All right. My background, which is in finance, operation, and IT, okay, I have CPE requirements to keep my CPA license, and I have CPE requirements to have my data processing certification, right? And so as a result of it, during the year, I keep my skills up to date by attending seminars and, different types of webinars to have the skills that I need. Okay? And people, to get the positions that they want, okay, and if that's the position, some of them that you spoke about, well, they're going to need the skill set. And if they don't have it, they have to get it. All right? That's a requirement. You have to continue to educate yourself, no matter what age you are, so to speak. All right? But at the same time, in looking at it, if you want a position that requires these skills and you do not have these skills, and it's going to take you a while to get these skills, well, then you could fall into a situation, but depending upon your age, to face different discrimination areas, especially on age. So it's a catch-22 to some extent to look at it. But no matter what type of job you want, the ultimate thing is that you have to have the skills for it. Okay? And technology is advancing tremendously, and it has been for years. Okay? And so you need the skills to do it. Right? I'm not going to debate that at all, Alex.
Quick comment on it when you get a chance. Sorry.
No, go ahead. What's your point?
Quick comment on that. I too am experiencing the same thing as a technical writer because the skills are all over the place. So what I'm trying to do is I allot myself at least half a day a week. I go into LinkedIn and I take learning. Like I saw a lot of Excel, for example, a lot of Excel VLOOKUP skills or pivot tables. So I went into LinkedIn, took the learning course, and then you could post your certificate on your profile. It's just my way of trying to beef up skills, but it does take time.
It does.
The same thing.
Good for you that you're doing it. Okay.
Yeah, but it's exhausting. I'm spending more than 40 hours a week on my job search with everything.
But this is something that you're striving for, this job, right?
Yeah, and
so
the same thing with API. Yeah. API documentation. I was taking a course last night. I was up till 8:30 taking the course, and I still haven't finished it. But I'm trying to meet some things that I see a lot in job postings. I try to take courses on.
You should do that, and I commend you for that. Look, it's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy
really
to stay up with technology or with anything. Okay, if you expect to waltz into a job and you don't have the skill sets on that, okay, it's not going to happen. Let's be realistic over here. But at the same time, there are certain jobs out there, okay, excuse me, that people have the skills today that they need. Okay, It comes back to saying, what do you want to do? Okay, what role do you want? And then in determining what role you want, do you have the skills now? Okay, or do you have to, get the skills, and you have to look at all that. Right?
Right.
It's not willy-nilly. This requires thinking on everyone's part to do this. And, you have to think about it. So, coming back to Alex's point, yeah, to some extent, there's a disconnect, but really, okay, these are the jobs, okay, that the workforce really, initially didn't have. Some of the people do have those skills, all right? But, times keep on changing, things evolve, and at the same time, sometimes things become the same that used to be, okay? Talk about, and we're getting off the subject, but look at the electric car. Today, everybody's talking about the electric car, okay? And it's about 7% of the auto industry sales in the US are the electric cars. A number of people say, this is new stuff, blah, blah, blah. This is nonsense in that it's not new, okay? Years ago, one of my clients that I had that was in New Brunswick had an individual who was doing their electrical work. And this individual invited me one day to his, I guess, office, which was across the street. And I went across the street and I stepped into his office, which was like Alice walking through the looking glass. And it was really a museum. And I looked in this office that he had, and he had a bay of cars, old cars, and they were electric cars. 1896, 1902. These were electric cars. But what they had, the batteries were like 6 feet tall. This individual used to work with Thomas Edison, all right? And so he knew what to do on these things. Why didn't the electric car take off when the combustible engine took off? Why do we have, all these gas-powered cars as opposed to electric cars? Because of the distribution system for fuel. It was a lot easier to put gasoline tanks in the ground than string electric wires and charging stations across the nation. So things are changing, but they're still the same. So you really need to look at the skill set that you need today and tomorrow. And then, the so-called disconnect, it's not going to really be a disconnect. People will gain the skill set. So, Alex, I hope I addressed the question that you asked. Okay.
He's nodding yes, so thank you, Marty.
Okay. All right, let me just wrap this up and go through a couple of things. The metrics that you need and the time goals that you need in your search, okay, which is really important. And what I suggest you do is set up weekly goals. Okay. How many calls do you want to make this week? How many interviews do you hope to schedule? How many coffee meetings should you get? How many events should I attend? Which events should I attend? And in doing this, okay, bear in mind that during the week, when you're out networking, you also need time for follow-up work with people, all right? And the way I suggest you do is that you make a calendar with your goals. And it's a 2-week calendar, rolling 2 weeks. So what you do, you set up, today, let's say, for the next 2 weeks, what do you want to accomplish? And put it into measurable terms. How many calls, how many interviews, etc. How many people do you want to, contact on your list? And you do it for the next 2 weeks. Now, what happens next Friday? You take a look at what you've done this past week. and you look and see, what have I done? I was going to make 10 calls. I made 12. That's pretty good. I wanted to have 5 coffee meetings. I only had 1. Well, why didn't I have my 5? What did I do instead? Did I just sit around, or just, what was the problem? So you say, okay, well, what I want to do now, I want to adjust 2 weeks out with new goals. And so next week, I'm going to do what I set last 2 weeks ago. And it keeps on rolling average where you're setting your goals. And then you always have, when do I want my job by? What's my long-term goal? What does that look like? Okay. And then what you do every week, let's say the 2-week period, you want to look at, did I meet my weekly goals? If not, why not? Why didn't I achieve what I was set out to do? And then you make your adjustments. And then you see how you manage your time. And as you manage your time, you're focusing more on things that you have to do, and you're getting them done. And then what you also want to do, based upon the feedback you're getting, are your goals realistic? Am I meeting the people that I want to meet? Are they helping me? If not, why not? Okay. Am I getting the interviews? No, why not? What am I missing here? Okay. And what I do, I have what's called an inner circle. And this is like, 5 to 7 friends who I could contact at any time to chat with, to, ask for advisement, to just give them an update where I am on my search, if I'm doing a search. And these are the individuals in your circle who you are communicating with, who will be quite frank with you and honest and say, what you're doing isn't going to be really working. Maybe you should try to do it this way. Or, that idea you had, that's a real good idea to send out those letters, those direct mail. How many are you choosing? How's your progress on that? Let me help you develop a letter for you. Okay. Well, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? That's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Why would you want to do that? Things like that. So you want to have what I consider an inner circle to help give you the feedback as you go on your search. At the same time, when it comes to social media, okay, what I would do every week or so, check your LinkedIn profile and see how many people have looked at your profile. And by, being active in social media, posting articles, commenting on other people's posts. And when I say commenting, I don't mean just click the like button. Write something. It doesn't have to be, greatly in detail, but, you could write, that was a very interesting thought. I found that was very interesting. I think other people should read it. Okay. That will get you noticed. And then you look at your LinkedIn profile and see how many people are really looking at your profile. Do I have to adjust my profile? Think about it that way. So you're constantly evaluating what you're doing. Okay. And, as you go through this, you're going to get a feeling about your progress. Am I stuck in the mud, or am I actually progressing? You're your best judge. And then you have to make changes, okay? If you need to change your strategies, change it, okay? Try something else. But you need a plan. You have to have a strategy to find the positions that you're looking for. As I always say, to find your job, you go on your yellow brick road. The question is, with your yellow brick road, where do you want it to take you? And you have to determine that. The yellow brick road will help direct you and focus you to where you want to go. But you have to know where you want to go. Okay. And you also might say, hey, do I need assistance during my search? Do I need a coach? Do I need someone else to help me? Okay. Ask for assistance. Don't do it yourself. Okay. Even, when you're searching, have a work search buddy, as Paul Sakala would say. Have someone who will be there with you. Okay. Help you through the ups and downs that you have. Okay. Then what you want to do, constantly revise your weekly goals. Keep measurements. See what you're doing. It'll keep you on track. Okay. To just wrap all this up, on your search, always be positive and self-confident. Okay. Network all the time. Think strategically. Develop your tools and targets. Use what I consider my Big Four approach. Set near-term and long-term goals. Monitor your progress. And just remember the two most important words that you should carry with you are these. It depends. Okay, things when you search are different all the time. They're unique. You are unique. So in doing that, the actions that you take, okay, have to be strategized. Think about what you're doing. Think what's happening. Okay. Don't just do willy-nilly that you were told this is what you have to do. Question it and think about it. Okay. You'll all land, everybody. Just remember, being in transition is a journey. Some parts of that journey you could control. Some parts you cannot control. But the thing that I suggest you do is that on your search, learn about yourself, experiment in different approaches, different tools, different ways to go about things. But most important, enjoy it, because you will land and you will find out when you finish, you will be a stronger person than you were going into it. Okay. You'll get to know more about yourself, your strengths, and things that you are not so strong about. And you'll be able to make your adjustment as you go through this and become a better person. So I am here to help you. This is my contact information. It's very simple. My email to get me is my name, no dots or anything like that, at gmail.com. If you want to link with me, you can link with me at Marty Latman in LinkedIn. The best way to get in touch with me is my cell. That's it, everybody. I thank you for your time. Hopefully you had a good visit with me today. And I do appreciate, David, the opportunity to talk to people. Thank you very
Marty,
much.
thank you so much. And we so appreciate that you are such a big supporter, not just of job seekers, that goes without doubt, but with our group, PSG of Mercer County as well. So thank you so much. And this is an opportunity, either anyone in the room or on the call, to ask a question before we wrap up. We will be keeping the virtual session open for those of you online. You can network among yourselves, and we will, of course, be available here. Any last minute, one thing that came to mind, Marty, for as long as I've known you, I've had stuck in the back of my mind, it depends. And I find, and I do lots of presentations, people ask me questions and I come right away to Marty Latman's answer, it depends. So much depends on situation, on relationships, it depends on everything. And
it really does.
Yeah. So the message there is be open-minded to the possibilities that there are, like Marty said, there's no one right way to find a job. What's the best way to find a job? It depends. Marty likes network. You might prefer direct mail to initiate or email to initiate. It depends on lots of things. So don't get hung up, am I doing it right? And I remember a while ago, my niece, she just turned 21, she asked me, which was very sweet, what's the best car to buy? And I immediately thought of Marty. It depends, what do you want? Well, she's still in school. It's different than, if you're not in school and you got a regular commute or whatever. So it always depends. Be open-minded. So
Okay.
just as we wrap up, a couple of announcements to let you know. We will be right back here next week. And so I almost call it a luxury that this group has is we do meet weekly or just about every week. We have a very wide variety of topics as compared to groups that meet like monthly. And so next week we will be here. Jennifer L. Smith, she'll be virtual, but we'll be here. A leadership mindset for success. I'm so glad that Jennifer will be back here. She has such powerful information about critical thinking and having a success mindset. So that's who will be here next week. That's the 27th. And then February 3rd, I guess will be right after our Groundhog celebration. Hannon Isaacs will be here. Hannon Isaacs is an attorney, an employment law attorney, essential principles of employment law for workers and those in transition. So always a fun presentation that he gives, but very full of important information. Whether you are coming out of a job search and a job and you have questions about prior employment, or you're going into a job search and you have some future questions. So he has a lot of great information. And also Marty mentioned John Sampson. John leads a group or participates in the leadership of a group called PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org. They meet each Wednesday morning. And Carol and I don't know if Charlie's on the call also are very active in PSG of Central New Jersey, meets Mondays at 10:30, psgcnj.biz. So that is our program for today. So again, folks who are virtual, there's still a number of you there. We're keeping the session online. And for those of us here, we'll be interacting with you. Until we get to see you next week, we'll simply say, bye, everybody.